Aloha, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about tests, being tested along the spiritual journey, the ascension journey, different levels of the awakening journey, looking at everything through energy. And we're going to talk about the tests that come up when we are exiting the matrix, are going through these experiences and trying to find a footing and doing the root chakra clearing. So, this is going to be covering financial energy on the spiritual journey. And this is a really good time for me to share this information because I have had several bouts of this where we're doing a lot of internal deep root work of clearing. And you're done when you're done, and you'll get different layers through the years. So I'm coming out on the tail end, thankfully, of another really intense inner process of unwinding inner core programming and childhood wounding. So I want to talk about what it can look like based on my experiences. And while I'm still very fresh in this process, share what's been coming up for me, like the programs I have had to go within and witness yet again at a whole other level. All of this is in regards to our sovereignty. All of this is just these huge root chakra upgrades that are happening. And this is really brought on by the amount of photonic light just raining down, like bashing us sometimes right now, not only with the solar flare energy, but Uranus now being in Gemini. So our nervous systems and our cerebral functioning, all of that just got plugged in to a very, very high octave of energy. And photonic light is going to dance around the body and pull out everything that we need to see. And the most important thing to know is that when these experiences are coming up, it's all a test. So we want to reframe it's all a test. It is all for us to see something very deeply. And the entire process of what we are witnessing, what's coming up, the words that are coming through, the emotions, the words for those emotions are part of the medicine. It's part of the process because we want to see, where am I still holding separation that I was not aware of? A great visual for this energy is that we are lightning in a bottle in a human body. And it's like a ping pong machine, just all over the place, hitting all these things. And so part of the challenge with our mastery right now with Uranus and Gemini, it's going to be for 8 years, is balancing mind and heart and remembering the heart is the true mind, right? The head is going to have its own narrative. The human ego mind is going to have its own narrative that's all connected to the past. And so we want to keep coming down out of the head and into the heart to remember, to feel again, because it can be very easy to get disconnected from our entire being and stuck in the head again, in the mind again, as we're trying to figure things out. So the key with all of this is to go within, always go within. So I want to share what these tests can look like financially for those of us who are doing this journey solo. So we don't have a partner. Maybe we don't come from money, right? So those of us on that particular path are thrown into a unique set of circumstances to really go deeply into the root and safety and security without a safety net and allow every fear, every story to come up. So let me show you what these tests can look like, because our universe inside, which is us, is going to take it as far as it needs to go for us to see. And I share this not to, I don't want anybody to feel afraid. That's the whole point, is that this is all about fear. This is the root chakra. This is so much deprogramming from our human life and our human world and the 3D matrix, and how the value of a soul, the value of knowledge and love was never considered valuable. Those aren't things in the old system that technically you would financially be prosperous by having, even though that's the true wealth. Everything is like, it's a flip-flop, it's an inverse matrix. So the first thing that is very important is when you're in these periods, you have to remember, this helped me so much, and this is coming from Lisa Transcendence Brown and her amazing work, is that our human aspect is never going to be happy with the instability. And once you can remember that, it's like, okay, so there's always going to be an aspect of me that is in resistance and hates this and will have stories and, just the fear, the uncomfort, the bitching, whatever. Okay, if we start to know that, that can help because then we understand, well, we know that's not the true voice. That's not the aspect of us that's connected to higher intelligence, anyways, right? But if you just cognitively can use that understanding of, okay, so there's going to be the human part of me that's always going to hate this because nothing is predictable anymore. The human likes things to be predictable, linear, just on autopilot, not hard, right? And that's in a direct contrast to the quantum. So that's the first thing that I feel is very important because that really assisted me a lot to be reminded of that. Like, oh, yeah, the human's always going to hate this. So that's fine as long as I don't over identify with that aspect. And that's part of where the challenge can be as well, is it when we get stuck in the mind, right? And in the thought forms. So, next piece that's very important for us, working through judgment about this, judging ourselves for where we are. And this comes from, again, our programming of how we navigated in the old experience before leaving the matrix. Some of us are being laid off from jobs right now, where our universe is moving us out. Some of us, our universe told us to leave. And that's what it was for me. The universe said, you've got to get out of here. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even have savings. Like this is really scary. So the fear is very, very palpable. And you want to get into the fear, you want to look at the judgment, you want to look at the shame. And the judgment and shame can come up in many different parts of this scenario. So, first of all, judging yourself or your value based on, oh my God, I'm late paying my bills, and really not liking that because it feels irresponsible or whatever the story is. So there's judgment and shame perhaps in that element. And you want to maintain your sovereignty and take your power back from deadlines, and due dates and the linearity. And some of us, that threatens our root chakra security. Like that word threaten comes up a lot. And that's a program, that I use to explore, like, oh, where does my very existence feel threatened by a date on a calendar, So these are all things that until they come up, you don't really think about them. Another one is being forced to go through the program of having to ask for help or having to ask for an extension or just reaching out for help in general or realizing that, okay, for whatever reason right now, which I will know more later, I can't do all of this on my own right now. I need to lean on community. I need to reach out and ask for help. That's a big one for a lot of us when we are very independent and hyper independent. Again, all that is based on how we grew up. So you have to work on releasing shame and judgment around asking for help because the thing is, we're always judging ourselves, And personally, I have had experiences where I have been judged for needing help, but that's also me. That's also people reflecting me, So we can't be afraid of these things. They're just emotions, right? So with every piece that I mention here, you got to go within. You close your eyes and you go into your heart and you go into your body and you ask your body, where is this held? Where is this held? Where is this block? This belief, where is the separation within me? And I'm going to do a separate video. We're going to do a masterclass together here on how to work through blocks because I've had to really really dig deep. And I've had to explore a variety of ways where one way doesn't work anymore. I need to go even deeper. And it's like, oh my gosh, how do I even get in there? Because it's like cemented in, the words that came through were pulling out rebar, of the foundation. So look for that video. We're going to do a masterclass together here on the channel. Let's see. So we talked about fear a little bit. We talked about shame and judgment. We talked about reaching out for help or calling, having to call the utility companies, having to work out an arrangement with the landlord, all of these different scenarios. So here's what some of these instances of tests that are so much fun can look like. Okay. You either are fired from your job or you quit your job and you don't have a safety net. That is already very uncomfortable, right? You're showing up anyway, you're pushing through, you're doing your part to meet your emotions every day, and the programming inside, right? And you're like, oh my God, there's still more fear. So this is another thing that's so important to know is that it's not a one-time deal. where you go in and face your fear and then you realign yourself. And it's just so important to know this. Like, you might have to do this every fucking day where you have to choose your reality. You say, no, I don't believe that. I have to go inside, see where the fear, the belief systems are, see where the words are, right? But instead of believing the human system of, oh my gosh, I'm, just whatever, like whatever judgment story that you have, that is not true, that is not kind, that is demeaning to oneself. All of that is the stuff that we have to go through. So it can look like I shared, like all of a sudden, you're pulled out of the matrix system. You have to find new creative ways, and you don't have a safety net. So that already is scary enough. Then the universe will take you even deeper. So, rent is due in 2 weeks. Rent is due in 2 weeks, and you have $5. You do have enough left on a credit card for gas. And then all the other bills are due too. So the universe will take you as far as you need to go. And for me personally, I have the wonderful experience of being a fixed sign. I believe it has a lot to do with being a fixed sun sign. So all of my fellow fixed sun signs out there, Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, we hold on the most. Also, earth signs in general, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, we hold on a lot. We have a lot more. The way the energetics and the programming is embedded in us is fixed, so it can take a little bit more. We can be very stubborn that way and not even know, and even be willing on the conscious level. But there are fragments of the subconscious that are hanging on for dear life to these stories and belief systems, and we've got to go in there. So let's see. Where am I going with that? How extreme? Yes, it's so much fun. How extreme the experiences have to be for me to really get it. And that may just be unique to me, but I just want to share so that everyone out there, if you're experiencing this, you're not judging where you are. Some people don't need hardcore experiences to go really deep. I believe I'm going to the real core of things now. So it has to be more seemingly, the word desperate, right? On the outside in order to see, okay, where's there still more separation? Where do I still not believe? Where do I still not perceive through the heart space, through the quantum field? What are all of the stories? What are the stories about support and feeling supported? Where are those connected in childhood, right? And that's where the shame of asking for help can come from as well, for support, or communicating about where you are can bring up the shame and judgment, because growing up, we had to be the one to hold it down. We couldn't get help from anybody. We were the one. Often we were the one that, as children, we were even parents to our parents, because the situation was so unconscious at home. So you see how there are 100 million pieces to all of this, right? So yeah, what's interesting is, okay, so we have these scenarios, we take our power back from due dates, we go deeply within to see the belief systems, to see the stories, then those stories aren't true anymore. Then you're working through your own energy and embracing, while working in the heart space, the beauty of the value that you are as a soul. So you're completely taking your sense of value out of anything that would be defined by the 3D matrix system, right? Because it is designed that, oh, well, if you don't fit into the cookie cutter thing and your numbers aren't like this, then you're a piece of shit. That's exactly how the matrix is. It was built that way so that we would feel that way about ourselves, right? So then the next piece of all of this behind the scenes, while we're working through the programs, is to keep coming back to the heart space, not only to go into the body to find the separation, to data mine it, but to also feel again, get locked in the head, then we come back into the heart again. It's always, until you can hold it again, right? That's how the photonic light works. It's bipolar. It's okay. Just know that. When you're feeling your heart again, and your joy and your love again, and your softness again, then you start to really milk the value of your energy as a soul. And you really savor that. You really acknowledge that you feel, and you look at the truth, and you look at your truth. You look at the facts, it's completely separate from the matrix. So this is completely extracting ourselves and our identity out of the matrix systems into 5D, into the love field, and looking at the value of what you are and what you share and what you bring. So it has nothing to do with the material. It's all energetic. So you're consistently nourishing and fostering that connection and that truth of, I am abundance. Knowledge is abundance. Light, which is consciousness, is abundance. Love is abundance. Kindness is abundance. Generosity is abundance. And this is not anything to do with material things. It can, when you have overflow, but it's about the generosity of the spirit and that you are an overflowing cup. You have to fill your cup to do that. But that in general, as a way shower, as a light being, as an energetic being here, whatever your roles are, that you are coming from your soul and your love in all things. When you are dealing with others, you're always, what's the word? You're always living the example of the golden rule. Well, that's literally pure gold right there. That is priceless. So you have to build up your self-worth energetically as an energy being while simultaneously deprogramming the sense of valuation based on the material, based on fiat currency, yeah? Based on numbers and scores and due dates. So it's all for us to see. And each step of the way, I always say in my work over the years, I say this: when we see, we are free, right? And there still may be deeper layers of it. And so I have resigned to surrender to the fact that right now, as we are building, as we are doing the deepest root chakra clearing ever, and I'm seeing like Elon Musk's boring company, like boring down in these huge machines, tunneling down in inner earth inside of our root chakra, that this is the new daily practice for me right now, is waking up and feeling, okay, how's the energy? How's my body feel? Am I in my heart? Am I back in here again? Do I feel heaviness in the body? And so it's really tuning in to see, is my heart open and wide? Do I feel the levity of my experience? Do I feel the unconditional faith, belief, magic, generosity? Do I feel passionate about coming on, to speak and share? Or is it more of an internal experience right now? Am I called to go inside because I can feel that there's a blockage, there's a heaviness here? So it can also feel, with when we talk about blockages, and this is, we'll go into the practices of this in the masterclass, but yeah, I'm thinking of calling it like the quantum blockage, unfuck yourself, masterclass for embodiment, to remove blocks, to really work with the blocks. But when you feel a block, that's your directive to go within. Go within, because what the mind will do is it'll fixate, because that's what the human mind does, especially with all these energies now. We have a hyperdrive cognitive system, and if we're not aware, it will take off into the sunset and just take us on the whole thing. And for those of my soul family out there, those of you that are air signs or more cerebral, that's my Aquarius loves, my Gemini loves, my what are we missing, Libra. If you are more ethereal and an air element, you are already ruled by the mental sphere organically. So it's very easy for it to just take off, and you're like, oh my, then you burn all this energy trying to find solutions. So another way that it can look is, okay, you're doing your best to be in solution. Okay, universe, yeah, maybe the way showership right now isn't going to support me full time. No problem. Let's find some work that works, that is aligned with the new earth frequency as much as possible, right? So you can be yourself in the environment. It's not a toxic environment. It's not an exploitative environment. For me, I had to work through the perceived limitation of no longer being able to do physical work. And I have to tell that to people, when I am inquiring. I say, I'm looking for something remote. I'm looking for something cerebral and technological, any kind of stuff I can do on the computer, because I cannot trust that my body is going to want to be physical every day, because I'm an energetic being now, and I'm extremely much in a flux with the cosmic stuff. It's just the truth. So then I had to work through, oh my God, not only are there hardly any, this is the human, not only are there hardly any jobs out there in the job market, but most of them are physical and exploitative, and I can't rely on my body. So that means my percentage is even smaller. So this is how the mind goes. Here's another one. I was like, oh, fast cash, I could do Instacart. No, I can't do that anymore for two reasons. Physical, it's very physical. And then the second one is that the cost of gas just doesn't actually add up. So you're putting wear and tear on your vehicle, your physical body vehicle, your car, and then the price of gas doesn't validate that. So there goes that option for quick cash. There's the panic button, quick cash. And I thought, well, maybe I could do DoorDash. That's not as physical, and that'd be cool. I bring people their food. No, the batch prices are abysmal, and are not validated by the cost of gas. Let's put out some blessings for all the gig workers out there, because it's rough and they're hustling. So if any of you use any of these apps, give huge thanks to these people and tip them big. Yeah, I remember I did Instacart for years and years during the peak of COVID, when people were scared to go outside. And it's a lot of labor. So every solution that my human mind would come up with, and here's another one. I thought, I thought my intuition was saying, hey, go into this establishment. They were going to hire you last year, but you couldn't work out the schedule because you already had another job and it was too much. They had already said yes to you before and wanted to hire you. Go in and see if they're hiring. So I bring in my resume. The general manager says, oh yeah, we are hiring. We're going to do interviews next week. I say, okay, great. She says, I'll text you. I say, oh, great. Thank you so much. Next week, I follow up with her. Hey, I just want to follow up and express my interest. Nothing, no response. I'm like, okay, maybe she's stressed out. Maybe she's busy, whatever. 2 days go by. So I'll just call the establishment. I don't want to bug her and text her. Like, to me, texting feels kind of invasive, personally. So I call and an employee answers and she's like, oh, she says she'll text you. I'm like, okay. Weeks go by and I'm like, I start to get the feeling and then I start to get the understanding, oh, this isn't aligned, but you could have these red herring experiences that your mind and consciousness creates to try to assist you to calm down out of the panic mode. And it's kind of fucked up because it isn't. It's for us. And then you also see the other side of it. It's like, okay, so the human person saying, hey, we're going to have interviews. And well, yeah, I could just talk to the owner. We were going to hire you last year. I'll just talk to the owner. These were literally things that were said to me. So on one level, I felt like, oh, well, maybe I have an in. That would be really cool, to just have something part-time and just get the bread and butter kind of funds flowing, whatever. But it wasn't aligned. And so then you look at on the other end, people that are completely unaware of their effect of leading somebody on. And you can't really lead me on because you start to feel into the energy. Once you get out of your head, once you get out of the desperation, that's another really big one to look at. Desperation, panic, fear, judgment, shame. These are all the things we need to go inside and vocalize, own it. Just own it. Own it to yourself. It's not a big deal. It's just emotions. It's what's holding you back. This is what we're going to go into deeply in the blockages. Unfuck Yourself Masterclass. But getting caught in the head and getting caught in my human, I had a lot of these red herring experiences, which felt very frustrating. And then you start to get kind of confused because not only is the energy ping-ponging between the head and the heart, and you're extracting elements of yourself from 3D to be more integrated in 5D. You're managing your energy every day, but then you are open to, okay, well, let me explore this. Let me explore this. Let me explore this. Every door. Nope. And you're like, what am I to do? Right. So there were periods of time where I'm like, I don't know what to do, universe. I honestly don't know what to do. And then it's also very quiet. Your guidance is different. So you're then forced to deal with the blocks because you will not get one other piece of information until you work through that resistance or work through that block. And initially you may not know that you're blocked at first because you're stuck in the head, in the mind, and you're not perceiving the body and like what's going on in there. So I hope that this helps out there about tests and that it can look really bad, but it's just an appearance because sometimes we need something to get into the terror body. It's a whole body of work that I have called the terror body. We need to go into where that occurred in the body itself to release that and then acknowledge, oh yeah, it's a test. Thank you, universe. And then we need to come back to the truth. We need to come back and claim and our beliefs every day, claim our reality every day. This is as we are aligning with it. So even if we feel really far from it and we're like, I have no fucking clue what's going to work for me. This is looking pretty dire. I don't know. Don't worry. The worry gets in the way. That worry gets in the way and really pushes us back before resistance even, because you can't even feel resistance if you're in the worry, in that part of the head. So the testing can be rigorous, but it is for you. And as soon as you go within and you see, you get a break. You break the programming and you get a breakthrough. And one of my teachers long ago that I first studied esoteric quantum physics with, and psychic development with, she would say, "Oh, you're on the verge of a nervous breakthrough," right? So laughter is very important in these tests. And you got to remember, it's all an illusion. The fear, all of it is an illusion. When we're deeply in it, that doesn't help to hear that. It could make us mad, but that's okay. That's all part of it too, right? So the anger, the frustration, the shame, the judgment, the fear, the panic, the desperation, this is all old paradigm shit that we all went through somehow, that we are being invited to say, no, no, I feel that. I'm going to name it. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to claim it. And I'm going to transcend this. I'm going to transmute this because this was true back then. It is not true now. And thank you so much for showing me this. I'm so thankful to be able to see this and to feel this, to cry it out, to vocalize, use the throat chakra. You got to move it out, move the body, stomp. And from there, now we will get into the blocks, working with blocks, blocks and stuckness and all of that masterclass. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that this can assist somebody out there. I felt like, my examples are so fucking extreme. They hopefully will help somebody, even if it's them seeing like, damn, my situation's not that gnarly. And again, it's not gnarly, really, but it has to look that way for us to feel the feelings that are buried, right? Because if we're coasting along, we're on in overflow, those aren't going to come up. And that's how we get to overflow, is making room for it, right? So I really hope that this assisted you out there. Let me know. And if you would like to work one-on-one, just know that all of my subscribers, like any of the social media platforms that I engage in, you all get 50% off. So a session for 90 minutes, one-to-one. We go in depth because I use my projector. So you ask me questions, and we can go really deep and cover enough for you to work through for months to a year, because it's a waterfall effect of information. It's like a fire hose. So mainstream people that aren't involved with me intimately like this in my work, when they go to my website, it's 333, right? But for you guys, you have a special link that takes you straight to the mystery school to book, and it's 165. So thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you all so very much. I appreciate your comments so very much. When I'm going through it and I read those, it makes me feel so much love, and that's so helpful. That's so supportive. So I thank you, and I will see you soon. Thank you, and be sure to tune into the masterclass. It's going to be fun. All right. Bye-bye.